Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fourth webinar in our series on reopening Central Texas. I'm Kate Harrington, Outreach and Engagement Manager for Movability. Thank you for being with us, and I hope that you learned something today in this series that's been exploring the role mobility will play as Central Texas prepares to reopen. A quick note, please type in any questions if you have them and note who the question is directed towards. We have 4 panelists with us today, and after they have all finished their presentations, we'll have time for Q&A and we'll get to all the questions we possibly can. Really quickly, a little bit about Movability. Movability is Central Texas's Transportation Management Association. We work with employers and commuters to help them reach their goals with mobility planning. That means we offer customized planning services, networking, and introductions to our many partner members. We also partner with our lead members, the City of Austin, Capital Metro, the Downtown Austin Alliance, and the CTRMA. If anyone has questions about what Movability does or how we can help your workplace, please feel free to reach out to me and my colleague Anton Cox. Our contact information will be on the screen after presentations. Our panelists today are Jillian Zoss with We Drive You, Christy and Billy Carter with Carter Transportation of Austin, Julie Lane with VIA, and Mike Churches with Mod Bikes. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Jillian with We Drive You. Okay, sorry for the delay. Now I'm turning it over to Jillian.
Great, thanks. Pulling up my screen here. Hopefully everyone can see this. Welcome back from the long holiday weekend. Hopefully everybody had a good one. I want to say that I should have been on a plane today to Spain, but second best is being here with you guys, so appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about We Drive You and what type of things that we're experiencing during this time. So just to start off, I want to give you a little bit of a background on We Drive You. We're a shuttle and transportation provider with over 32 years of experience, and we specialize in commuter shuttles and really easing mobility to and from campuses and around the campuses for each company or university. We have a fleet of just over 1,000 vehicles, and those are ranging anything from 14 passenger vehicles all the way up to 81 passenger double deckers. And we use those vehicles to service over 9 million passengers each year. Our headquarters are actually based in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I am today. But we also service a number of locations across the U.S., including Central Texas. We've actually been servicing Texas since 2014. And through this, we've been lucky to engage with great organizations such as Movability, and we've been a member since 2018. So glad to be a part of this today. With our main focus being employee transportation services, obviously a lot has changed since March. We've seen companies go from people commuting to the offices every day to completely doing telecommuting. So one of the things that we want to look at is seeing what the road ahead is going to be. So what we've done is we essentially have a 4-stage approach, and it's really based on our experience that we have planned for phase reopenings with our customers. So I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper into this today. Phase 1 is really what we call the replanning stage. The stage is for implementing new protocols, and it's really to ensure the passenger safety. We want to make them feel comfortable, and their well-being is the top priority. So understanding a company's plans for coming back to work is really important because it helps us really create a model for alternative commutes and transportation, and hopefully it'll help reduce that SOB spike that we're likely to see once people start commuting back to work. During this time, it's really important to reanalyze the population density. You can look at revising schedules and routes, and even resizing the fleet. That will all help with social distancing, and they're all things to think about in this first phase. Phase 2 is actually the transition from telecommuting back to commuting. So it's putting all the action items that we learned in phase 1 into effect. So this would be encompassing things like giving employees multiple ways to get to work. So whether that's shuttles, bike share programs, van pools, carpools, on-demand services, These are all things that we can implement that will help employees feel a little bit more comfortable transitioning from that telecommuting back to commuting to work. I think we've all been isolated for a number of weeks, so it may even be a possibility that you may have to reintroduce a commute program just to make the transition a bit easier. We found that doing things like having commute ambassadors and also a concierge staff available to help answer questions really eases this kind of transition back to the everyday commute. Entering into phase 3 and phase 4, a little bit of the unknowns because we haven't experienced it yet. We can assume that phase 3 is now where people are pretty much commuting back to work full time. Hopefully there's alternative options for them to get to work, but hopefully there's other options as in telecommuting. Maybe they're going to work a couple of days, telecommuting a couple of days. We might see that as being kind of the new norm. But either way, it's a chance for you to step back and take a view at your commute programs and make sure that if there's any tweaks that can be made, if you can do any surveys, engage with your employees, just really help to optimize your existing programs. And then finally, phase 4, again, it's kind of the unknown, but I think we can all assume that things aren't fully going to transition back to the way they were pre-COVID. So it's apparent that we really just want to consider aligning with people who can all help each other out. So it's aligning yourself with like-minded organizations, being a part of webinars like this. These are all things that can help us stay positive and really adapt to things as they change. As I mentioned before, the 4 phases are based on our experience. Through the whole pandemic, we've actually been able to keep some of our services going for essential employees. So a big shout out to you guys who are commuting every day. You don't have the luxury of telecommuting, so we're thankful for that. And from that, I mean, we're from running these services and really engaging with these companies. That's how we've learned a lot of these kind of tips and tricks. And those are kind of some of the things that I want to share with you today as people are considering coming back to work in Central Texas. So in our whole Return to Work program that we're launching, we have about 150 point checklist. Of course, I'm not going to go through the entire checklist today, but I want to pull out kind of 5, I think, highlights from this. And really what I want to cover are, bus cleaning procedures and protocols. I want to talk about prepping the drivers and the operations team for new protocols. We want to look at any of the new boarding procedures that may happen and may have anything to do with bus stops. That's another thing in there. And then finally, we want to look at any revised schedules and or expectations for the riders during this time as they're transitioning back. Like many others, I'm sure everybody has new cleaning procedures in place. So we're also implementing those. We're wiping down the buses more often. We're wiping down each surfaces after all the routes. And we're also looking into things such as UV lights that can be put into the HVAC systems that can help decrease some of these environmental contaminants that are floating around. So looking at all sorts of things to just try to keep this front line safe for riders. We're also looking at implementing new safety training procedures specific for the drivers for COVID. We want to make sure that all the drivers are safe, so we're outfitting all of them with PPEs. And additionally, they will have a safety plexiglass shield that goes between them and the passengers onboarding. So that's a really great way to help with social distancing. And then we found it very important that we want all of our employees to have screenings and wellness checks before their shifts each day. So all of our employees will have a wellness check and will be temperature checked before that. So we're just trying to take every precaution possible. At shuttle stops, we're now implementing queuing at 6 feet apart. This means that some stops actually have to change locations, and that's based on just making sure that we have enough space for everybody to queue to get on board. We found that really important and something that we didn't necessarily think about in the beginning. We continue to use touchless badging. We either do that through a Bluetooth or a QR code, and that will help validate employees. We can collect e-fares that way, and we can also document ridership. So continuing with having people touch everything less is always good. And then for loading the bus, we want to make sure that we are loading the bus from the rear back. So the first person in line will actually go all the way to the back of the bus and then go forward, which helps alleviate any people walking past each other to get on the bus. So pretty critical things when it comes to just changing up a little tweaks in here and there, but changing up things really makes a huge difference in the safety. Also wanted to highlight this really quick. This is actually just a quick seating chart. It's really just a sample of reduced capacity or 6-foot distancing. Some of our customers are really wanting to distance their employees and make sure that everybody can have a safe social distance when they get on the vehicle. So that's one thing that we've done. Additionally, something that's pretty exciting we're rolling out with our partners at TripShack is a reservation system. So that'll be coming out in the next couple of days in June. We'll be rolling that out so everybody will feel like they have a seat saved and reserved for them to and from work. So that's a pretty cool thing that's coming up. And just to kind of wrap things up, I wanted to wrap up the learnings and all of the experiences that we've had into 5 key takeaways. So the first is really, again, it's ensuring the safety of the employees and the riders by gathering a plan, making sure that that's in place. And then we want to make sure that we give the employees a number of commute options to get to work other than driving. We want to make sure that that's still in place so that they can make an easy transition back. And along with that easy transition, keeping in mind that to have some commute ambassadors or concierge staff just helps relieve some of the worry that the riders may have or questions that they may have about some of these new protocols that I mentioned earlier. Over communication, we found that this is key. We always know communication is key, but we say over communication is essential because having riders, employees know plan A through Z really helps just take a load off their mind on thinking of how they can get to work and how this transition is going to go. And finally, it's engaging with strategic partners, making sure that you're aligning yourself with proactive companies and sharing lessons learned. These are really things that are going to, help us all stay positive. Like I said, this is all an unknown time, so it's best to, if you can, engage with others, share best practices, and most of all, be positive. So thanks again. Really appreciate the opportunity to be involved in this, and welcome any questions or comments that you have, and hopefully look forward to getting to see all in person real soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Jillian. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Christy.
Hi, can you hear us? Hi, everybody. We are Billy and Christy Carter. We're the owners of Carter Transportation here in Austin, and you are probably more familiar with us as Super Shuttle and ExecuCar of Austin, which we were up until this past December, and then we weren't, and now we are again. So, so we'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But we're happy to talk to you today just a little bit about some of the services that our company can offer to help get Austin back to work without getting back to traffic. And so I just wanted to tell a little bit about our company. Let me switch to our screen here. Okay. So we have been providing ground transportation in Austin. We've been providing ground transportation in Austin since 1999 and actually celebrated our 20-year anniversary last May along with Austin Bergstrom International Airport. And we are locally managed and owned and a certified small and woman-owned business based here in Austin.
We're very connected to the community and the local hospitality industry. We serve on the board for Visit Austin and also for the Austin Hotel and Lodging Association, and also serve on the board for the Austin Police Operation Blue Santa, which has been a great experience for us. We are also members and participate with many travel industry and community organizations, including Movability.
So we are most known for our airport transportation services, which is taking visitors of and residents of Austin to and from the airport. So most people identify with our blue shuttles, but we also have ExecuCar, which is our chauffeur-driven black car, SUV, and Sprinter vans. So our ExecuCar service is the private chauffeur-driven rides, and our drivers meet their customers in the baggage claim area, assist with luggage, escort them to the waiting vehicle, and then take them to their destination. And it's affordable. We consider it a business class option versus luxury, so it usually costs not much more than a taxi. But you're still getting that black car experience with the nice vehicle and the suit and tie driver. In our super shuttle vans, you can also opt for private rides, but really the core of our super shuttle airport business is shared ride service. And this means we are going to group up to 3 stops together in a direct route on the way to or from the airport. So you may ride with neighbors, others staying at the same or a nearby hotel, or people who are just on the same path going to or from the airport. So you give up a little bit of your time to share the ride, which saves you money and helps take cars off the road and you can keep your car safe at home in your garage, but it also gives you that additional productive time on the ride. And so for corporations, we offer billing options, and then for qualifying companies, you may be able to receive a volume-based corporate discount for employees for their business or their personal travel.
When people are ready to travel for work again, we're going to be there to safely take them to and from the airport. We have many safety procedures in place to make sure that people feel comfortable in our vehicles and in using our service.
So the airport is what most people know us for, but what many people don't know is that all of our vehicles are also available to take people to and from non-airport locations, which is really how we can plug into the mission for finding alternative commuting options for Austin. So we all know that finding ways to help reduce traffic congestion is a big priority. And many companies are also looking for alternative transportation options for employees to help with recruitment and retention and employee productivity and quality of life, and to help with parking challenges. So some examples of how companies are using our transportation services. The employee commute program, ride sharing to work. So basically we can drive your employees to and from work and can be like a van carpool service for them. So our dispatchers manage the pickups, and we can add people to routes very similarly to how we would for our shared ride airport service. We pick up people who live nearby or on the same path. And then people can work on the way to, have that time available to them on the way to and from the office and be a little bit more productive. And then, this takes vehicles off the road and helps with parking challenges. The vans are private to your organization, so you can control the number of passengers per vehicle just based on your current comfort level. Most of our shuttles seat up to 10. We do have a few that are larger, but right now we're recommending about a 50% capacity until we're feeling a little bit more comfortable about that. We have had situations where companies in close proximity choose to share this service, but that's completely up to you. And so we're all, really looking forward to seeing some good things that come from this, everything that's been going on. And one of those may be people having the opportunity to work virtually, either all of the time or part of the time. So if you have a team that needs to come into the office just for office coverage days or for meetings, then we could do a program just based on a weekly schedule for that, or just as needed. We can also offer last mile transportation. So if your people are utilizing public transportation, but it's a little bit far for them to walk, we can have a scheduled shared ride shuttle during peak hours, moving them back and forth to the office. Or if it's walkable, but there's inclement weather, you could just call us when you need us and we can set that up. We can set up an emergency ride program for your company. So if you're using us for ride sharing to and from the office, or if your employees are carpooling or using public transportation or biking or walking, and then that employee for some reason needs to get home, or there's bad weather, or they miss a shuttle and they need to work late, you can have us on, basically have an account set up, and they can just call us anytime and we can send the next available vehicle to come pick them up. We've also set up safe ride programs, safe ride home programs for companies who may want to set up transportation home for their employees after social events, if they are out entertaining and they just want to make sure that they can get home safely and make good ride choices and not getting behind the wheel when they've been drinking. So we can do this specific for particular events, or you can just set it up so no questions asked, they call us and we send a vehicle to go pick them up. We've also had some companies that will just schedule shuttles and just have them on, they may have 10 shuttles there just available to take customers or employees home after an event, or have them available if needed. So we can do that as well. And then one other option that people may not be aware that we provide is city-to-city transfers within Texas. And we do this, of course, mostly to Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio. This is really great if you have a small group of people who need to get just a few hours over to another Texas city for a meeting or sales calls, and you can actually put them in one of our shuttles and they can work on the way. We've got Wi-Fi in those vehicles and they can have meetings or brainstorm or, whatever. And the vehicle can take them and drop them off and come back on a different day, or they can actually stay there with them and take them for appointments or sales calls and then bring them back when they're ready to come back. So companies feel safe using our service for several reasons, and first and foremost is our drivers. So all of our drivers are career professionals. They're all carefully selected, background checked, commercially insured. And so for safety and liability reasons, companies feel comfortable using us or recommending us to their employees. Also, our technology allows people to GPS track their ride. They can go back in and check reservations for past or future to make sure they've made them, double check details, pull up receipts from previous rides, and they receive reminders the night before they have a ride with us so they can double check the details and make sure everything is as they want it to be. And they receive text updates from the driver, and that's all just really comforting so that they don't have to wonder if somebody's coming. And we really just want to be a one-stop shop for our customers so that we can take care of any of your airport transportation, your around Austin transportation, or your employee commuter transportation. And you've got one contact for all of that. So you can call your person and make any changes if you have any questions, if you need help with reservations. But then in addition to that, you've got a dispatcher that's on duty 24 hours a day. And that phone number is 512 Blue Van. It's easy to remember, and your people can reach a local Austin person 24 hours a day. So that's just that, I know that makes our corporate people feel very comfortable because they know that their people will not get left in a bad situation. They can always reach us. So that's kind of how our service works. Of course, with the pandemic, everything's a little bit different right now. So like most others in the hospitality and travel industry, we lost about 90% of our business within a matter of days. And we used to keep about 20 to 25 vehicles on the road at any given time. And now we can cover our business with 1 to 3 vehicles a day. So we are definitely ready to get back to work. But we have been really seeing in the last week or so, we're starting to get more phone calls. People are asking a lot of questions about security procedures, starting to book those trips very gradually. So that's super encouraging. We've been around Austin for long enough, since 1999. So this is not our first big hurdle to overcome because we were still growing our business when 9/11 happened. And that immediate loss of business and then the longer term fear-based decrease in travel feels very familiar, even though it's really a completely different situation. But what is similar is that many people just don't feel safe traveling, and they want to. They're looking for, the comfort of feeling safe. So whether that's flying across the country or just getting into vehicles in the Austin area. So that's why we are doing everything that we can to be sure people are safe in our vehicles, and then also helping them to feel safe. So we've always had very strong standards for cleaning our vehicles. The vehicles are cleaned after each shift and they're checked in between rides. Now they are sanitized at least once daily, usually several times daily. And then the high touch areas are sanitized between every ride. So, anything the customer touches, the seat belts, the door handles, windows, any of that is sanitized between each ride. Drivers and customers are asked to check temperatures and stay home if they have any symptoms of illness. And drivers and customers are encouraged to wear face coverings. The drivers sanitize their hands after each customer interaction, and they are social distancing to the best of their ability. So they are standing back and trying not to get as close to customers as they typically would. No handshaking, and then we're asking people to pay in advance and not do cash tips if possible, just to try to keep everybody safe. We're limiting the number of vehicles or number of people in our vehicles at this time to help with social distancing. And the drivers are setting their vehicle fans to fresh air instead of recycled air. And then we're also in the process of installing clear partitions between the driver and the passenger area. And we have temporary ones in place in our shuttles right now. So these are all things that we are doing now. And as business picks back up, our focus is on letting people know what we're doing so that they'll feel comfortable using our service. So we are just, right now, we're in the process of just getting the word out through social media, sharing our safety flyer with group planners and corporate travel managers and our industry partners, sharing our safety commitment on the booking site, and then during the ride itself with the driver's actions and the appearance of the vehicles. So we have a lot of discussions with our drivers we have in the past about what fragrances are best to have in the vehicles, because it's a very personal, thing to people. Some people love one and hate the other. So we've been telling them the new hot scent is hint of bleach or alcohol. If people can smell that your vehicle smells sanitized, they're going to feel a lot better about getting in the vehicle with you. So make sure the vehicle is clean, that it looks clean and it smells clean. Tell the customers what you're doing. Don't just do it, but tell them why you're staying back, why you're not handling the luggage unless they need assistance with it, and let them know that you have freshly sanitized their vehicle right before they stepped into it so that they feel comfortable getting in. So that is a little bit about our company and what we can do in addition to airport transportation, and how we are being as safe as we can during these uncertain times to help keep our customers and our drivers safe while still being available to get people to and from where they need to go, whether it be to work or to the airport. Oh, and I wanted to explain just a little bit more about what's going on with the Super Shuttle and the Carter transportation situation. So basically, we've always been Carter Transportation. We have been a franchise of Super Shuttle since 1999. And then in September of last year, the company was sold. And in mid-December, the new company said they were closing down the operation at the end of December with 2 weeks notice. So that was fabulous. So we started operating under the name of our company, Carter Transportation. And then in mid-February, we were in the process of switching over to our new booking site and all new technology. And we received word that some of the former management of Super Shuttle were actually reviving the Super Shuttle brand and technology. And since their technology was very robust and created exactly for what our business model is, we went ahead and switched back to Super Shuttle's system. So long story short, we are Carter Transportation. We have always been Carter Transportation. We are also the Super Shuttle and ExecuCar affiliate in Austin, and we're in the process of becoming the affiliate for Go Shuttle in Austin as well. So our shuttle vans will remain blue with the Super Shuttle and the Carter branding on them, and at some point we'll add a Go logo on there as well. And locally, we are promoting our website, which is cartertransportationaustin.com. For making reservations, but Super Shuttle customers or Go Shuttle customers, they'll go to those websites, and all of those reservations come to us at Carter Transportation in Austin. So we take care of all of that. The Super Shuttle app, people were really sad when they went away. They're great. They're back, so anybody can use those, and they work great. So make the reservations in any of those ways, and they come to us, and Billy and I and our Carter team will get you where you need to go safely and on time. And here's my contact information if anyone has questions about anything transportation related in Austin. You know, we're, like Billy said, we're really tied into the community and the transportation community as well. So we know all the players, and it's a very tight-knit transportation community. So if we can connect you with anybody or answer any questions or talk to you about any alternative mobility options or setting up accounts or any of that, just give us a call or shoot me an email. We'd be happy to talk to you about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you all so much. We thought we were going to switch over to Julie with VIA.
Thank you so much. And let me get this in full present mode. So thanks everybody for joining us here this afternoon and taking the time. My name is Julie Lane, and I am on the partnerships team with VIA. VIA is a technology and service provider, and we work with partner cities and transit operators to build on-demand, dynamically routed transit solutions. We work directly with Cap Metro with the pickup service in Austin, and also Trinity Metro in Fort Worth, Texas. I am actually based in Seattle, but we are a global company. So the understatement of the year is that the last couple months have been an absolute roller coaster, especially for transit. So everyone has been trying to keep up with the latest recommendations, adjust as necessary. And we're also now at a point where we're taking everything that we've learned and we're trying to plan for the future. And the idea of reopening and making sure that commuters feel safe, well taken care of, and also that our drivers feel safe in this new world and in this new normal is especially important to us, and something that we think has to be at the core of everyone's service today. A little background, just very briefly, on VIA in case you are not familiar. So we have been around since 2012, and what we do is we work to build dynamic technology-backed solutions based on what the community is really needing. So powering public transportation, working with private operators as well to ensure that there are solutions that make sense for our riders. This might have just me conveniently enough. All right, hopefully everybody can still hear me.
We can, thanks, Julie.
Thanks. And so we're experts in transportation, really. This is a slide that we use in pretty much all of our presentations just to provide some context on what VIA does and where we're located. I think that it's especially relevant today, though. You can see here this global map, our kind of standard operations. We're a global company, so we're working with partners in all of these cities across the world. And generally, kind of the idea and the speaking point here is that our technology is able to scale. So whether you have service in New York or Berlin, in Seattle, in Austin, we can also provide service in Lone Tree, Colorado, population 14,000, where we run 2 vans. So that idea of scaling has been so important in just our everyday services, but it's even more important now when we've seen sharp declines in ridership and the need to be able to adjust on the fly, take vehicles off the road as needed, and then also boost them back up when we see that rider demand has come back on board. And so doing all of this, and we're now thinking about our commuter needs, many states, many areas are now at the point where they're starting to reopen, and we want to make sure that commuters feel safe and supported as they come back to thinking about how to get to work and the transit options that they have available to them. The reality is there is a very true and deep fear of physical proximity at this point. If this picture kind of causes a kind of pit in your stomach, you are very likely the vast majority of people. It makes people uncomfortable. And recent surveys have shown that about 77% of US adults don't feel comfortable using public transportation, again, until they know that there are clear guidelines that have been provided by health professionals, and that also the transit operators themselves are taking precautions and they're clearly communicating those. The idea that, Jillian and Christy also kind of have touched on, I'm sure Mike will as well, is that, we can't over communicate at this point. This is new for everybody. And so simply hearing the fact that your providers are concerned about your safety and that they're taking action and that they're being proactive, it really is the reassurance that everyone wants to hear, and they kind of want to hear it, ad nauseum. You can't overstate it. This picture, while it kind of causes that fear and that anxiety in us now, this very well could have been what the public transportation experience looked like for riders pre-COVID. And so this might be their last memory of what it is. And so we want to ensure and make sure that people realize that this is not what it's going to look like anytime soon, possibly ever, simply because it's not safe. And so we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in knowing that. At VIA, we're working really hard with our partners to ensure that they are following the latest guidelines, and that also they're communicating those with their riders. So maintaining social distance, reducing physical interaction, and also keeping vehicles clean, right? Those are kind of the three hallmarks of what everybody is paying attention to, and really has us top of mind right now. With maintaining social distance, adding driver partitions, so plexiglass, plastic partitions to keep drivers safe, those are pretty standard and our primary recommendation at this point. Also blocking rider seats, which has been touched on previously already in today's webinar. So making it really clear when people get on the vehicle, whether it's a small passenger van, a 14-footer or a 40-foot bus, they know exactly where it is that they are allowed to sit, as well as where they cannot sit, so that there's that visual cue, and they don't need to be concerned when they step on the vehicle. Another thing that I'll go into more detail as a solution that we've recently pivoted to is fixed route and capacity management, which we're really excited about. And so this is the ability to kind of say, hey, we want to ensure that, the fewer riders per trip, the better. And we want people to know that they're getting on a vehicle that isn't already at capacity and that drivers aren't going to have to worry about policing their vehicles. Of course, we're also recommending cash-free transactions, rear door and automatic access, so people don't need to touch doors, touch poles, pull the cord. As much as possible, we want to limit that interaction. And then, of course, daily or more often cleaning, as well as providing EPA-approved disinfectants on vehicle so that drivers are able to help clean mid-shift. So protocols for managing risk and exposure, we mentioned the idea of communicating. So making sure that drivers are aware of what the current safety measures are, and as things are still changing, pretty rapidly, that we're keeping them up to date so that they have the latest information, both for their own self of mind, but also, in case riders are asking them questions, they know the correct answers, or they at least know where to direct the riders to get the latest information. Asking them to self-monitor, and also being clear about what the policies are just internally if they do need to self-quarantine, if they are exposed, or if they do test positive. Reporting and response, it's also really important to have a clear protocol in place for escalating reports. So if somebody finds out that they are positive and they alert you to that, or if people think that they may possibly have been exposed while riding a vehicle, that there's a really clear protocol in place for how they could report that, and then also how you internally would be able to share that information with other people who were possibly exposed. So the backend data that kind of powers our everyday service is also enabling us to power this flexible service, these changes that have coming in a coronavirus, world, really, where we are today. So not only are our backend operators able to see vehicles, so maintain the capacity management of who's on the road, and adjusting that as needed so that we're not driving empty vehicles around if they're not needed, but we're also able to amp up capacity at a time when it is. Rider control, so this is something that, maybe we're staggering shifts, or maybe we're vehicle matching. So the idea of having employees that are going to the same building or the same campus, how can we ensure that they're kind of all being pooled together in a really safe manner, and we're not kind of mixing populations unnecessarily. The same idea with driver control and kind of driver and rider matching, thinking about, if we have special populations or at-risk populations, ensuring that those riders are only getting matched with drivers that we have an up-to-date positive, or I guess negative test, and that they, have not tested positive for coronavirus, that they do not have a high temperature, that they are not showing symptoms. We're able to manage all of this information on the back end using our dashboard. So a case study that I wanted to just touch on for a minute, as I mentioned, we have been pivoting and kind of changing to help provide transportation to essential workers, and to help with food delivery, and to help with kind of those immediate needs that people were discovering were really important, right as all of this was kind of coming to life, and we were kind of changing on a daily basis. It's also brought some really interesting opportunities, though, for us to put together solutions that are now going to become really part of our primary suite of offerings. And one of these we're really excited about is going to be launching on the West Coast with a major agency here in the next 30 days. It should be live. The technology is available. We're just kind of waiting on some messaging and communications from the agency themselves. But what they shared is that with a decreased kind of schedule, they were having their fixed route buses be overfilled in an unsafe manner. And so they really wanted help managing this. And so what we did is we mapped out their fixed route lines, and riders via an app or through calling in are able to essentially reserve a spot on that bus. They're not booking a particular seat, they're more so just booking a place on the bus, and it guarantees them that spot. Drivers now have an app that's touchless. They don't need to interact with it. It essentially follows their current route, the one that they're already familiar with, but it indicates to them only those stops where a rider has requested service, or where somebody on the bus has requested a drop-off point. So they are not stopping at every stop, which is able to kind of maintain efficiency, also keep costs down, but it's also guaranteeing that we are managing the percentage of capacity that we want to have on the bus. And it's something that we can really quickly, with the flip of a switch, increase as times change and as we get further into reopening, or if we need to scale back quickly because perhaps there's another flare up in a given area. And so we're really excited about this. It gives that visibility on the back end. It gives that capacity management that's really straightforward and clear. And it also gives the real-time tracking for riders to be able to see when their bus is coming so they don't have to all pool up at a bus stop together. And drivers are really clear that they are only stopping when the screen right in front of them has given them the alert that yes, this is a stop that somebody has requested, or yes, this is a stop that somebody needs to get off at. And so I'll end it there. Thank you again so much for having us be part of today's webinar. We are really excited to kind of be at the forefront of things as they're changing, and would love to connect to see if there's any solutions that might work in your communities to help adjust with the demand that's coming up. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. And with that, I'm going to switch to our last panelist, Mike Churches of Mod Bikes.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
We can. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, great. My name is Mike Churches. Thank you for letting me be part of this very important discussion. I'll start off with kind of talking about Mod Bikes. We are an electric bike company based here in Austin. We launched mid of 2018. We make an array of commuter-friendly bikes. We have kind of all different kinds for all different riding needs. And it's been really amazing few years. We've been very lucky to be part of a very powerful biking community here in Austin. And it's been great. The popularity of electric bikes has been bigger than ever in the last few years. And especially now, most bike shops are super busy. And when this craziness happened, we were very fortunate to stay open as we were deemed essential for transportation. So as this started, there were definitely few days for us in the retail business where we weren't sure how things are going to go. This was obviously unprecedented for everyone. But basically, within a week after the new regulations were set, we have been busier than we could ever imagine. People, kind of saw bicycles are, basically ultimate social distancing vehicle. And as people were kind of stuck at home, this is one of the few options that they have left. So we have been busy selling bikes. We've been busier than ever doing maintenance. And what we've done, obviously, as the city has put regulations for retail shops to be open, we've changed our business hours a little bit. We've maintained only 2 customers at a time in our store, and as many customers as possible, we've offered curbside, whether it's they want to just drop off the bike or if they want to look at a new bike, for us to go outside and show them everything. So what we've done as well is we do rental business. We wipe bikes every day. As our day begins, we go through our entire store. We wipe down all the surfaces that customers can touch, helmets, grips, seats. We go through that, and we've done as much as we can to help serve our community, because the amount of people bringing their bikes out from garages that haven't been used in a long time or starting to ride for the first time has been just insane. So we've, as much as possible, we've seen a huge number of people that have been, whether laid off from work or just been kind of put on furlough. So we've tried to help our customers, if we can, with doing service, doing a quick turnaround time on fixing their bikes. And in many cases, we've also, tried to help them in terms of fixing it for a minimum as less as possible, so that they can have a working bike without spending too much money. We've definitely seen a lot of, people in hospitality business, such as working hotels or in restaurants, bars, that have definitely needed help, and we've tried to accommodate them as much as we can. We've donated a couple bikes that we had. We've fixed a few things kind of on the house. That's kind of been our, our main thing. Most bike shops in Austin are overwhelmed with service, and I in some cases I hear there's a month out for them to do a tune-up on a bike. So we have been trying to step up on our end and fix the bike in 2-3 days. In most cases. The thing that we're seeing in our industry, in electric bikes and bikes in general, is our supply chain has been cut off completely since the beginning of the year. So we've now reached to a point where most bikes are on back order, out of stock, as well as accessories. So we're going into the summer months where there's going to be a lot of things not available, as has been in previous time, but we're working around it, doing everything we possibly can. People are definitely realizing that travel is going to change, as it's been discussed, and biking is becoming more popular than ever. And we see that sort of across all specters of customers, from your daily commuters to someone who's doing it just on weekends. We're definitely seeing that the desire for biking now has been super busy. So with that, we definitely, with Austin being such a great city for bike commuters, we're definitely trying to do our best to keep up with the service, with getting people their bikes on time, so that everything is safe and ready to go. I guess that's about it. So thank you so much again. It's been, we're very happy to be part of Movability. They've been an amazing partner for us, and we look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Great, thank you so much, Mike. With that, we are done with our panelists talking. If anyone has any questions that they would like to address to everyone or anyone in particular, please type them in now. I am going to launch a poll and give you all a chance to look at that and vote. While you think of questions, type them in. And I have one question. Bear with me, please. Okay, I have one question addressed to everyone, and that is, we've seen a shift, obviously, in how people are getting to work or not getting to work, and it's been this kind of forced behavior change experiment. Are you seeing any indication from employers and employees that they would like some of those changes to stick? This is along the lines of the poll here. Do you as providers see an indication that people are looking for ways to not get back into drive-alone commutes as they do think about getting back to work? Mike, why don't we start with you since you went last?
Yes, definitely. I think we have had some communication with some of the tech companies here in Austin recently, who are seeing that working from home works for them and their employees. And at the same time, parking and travel has been an issue in Austin even before this. So we're definitely seeing on our end, companies are looking into, for example, getting fleet of bikes for their employees that do want to travel, to minimize traffic, to minimize the cost of parking. They're definitely looking into an option of on different levels of getting fleet of bikes for their use, for their employees, for either its delivery service, or some are companies that are based in downtown, and a lot of their workforce is close by in downtown. So they're talking to us about looking into getting fleet of electric bikes.
Wonderful, thank you. How about you, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard this as well. A big area specifically are hospitals. So in partner cities where we have fleets and we've got vehicles, there's been a big concern of saying like, hey, we want to make sure that our workers are able to get to and from the hospital, especially for late shifts, kind of off hours, so that they're not having to rely only on public transportation, that they have an option where it's that idea, as I mentioned, of having employees that are all going like to the same place, be in the same vehicle together, and then they're able to reserve a spot and route it directly.
Great. And Jillian, how about you?
Yeah, very similar to what Julie's just responded to, is that we have seen a lot of companies who are providing additional alternative commute options rather than just relying on public transportation. And I do think that we will continue to see companies, especially tech companies, doing a bit more teleworking. The question is just how long will we see them do the teleworking? So they may start that, and then in 3 years, 5 years, is this still going to be what we're transitioning to, or are we going to go back to being more into the commuting to work and having face-to-face relationships with our coworkers and employees?
Great. Yeah. And then Christy and Billy, what about what you're hearing?
Yes, very similar. We are, as we're having conversations with our customers, they are just all trying to figure out what to expect in the coming months and years. And so people are definitely talking to us about doing the ride sharing into, to and from the office. And even just within our own organization, we had not previously considered teleworking for our employees. It didn't seem like that was something that we could or should do, and we've made it work. And so now that, that's been great to be able to talk to our customers about, about that going forward. So yeah, definitely people are having the conversations with us and interested in knowing, what we can provide. It's exciting.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you all. Well, with that, I think we're going to actually come in just under an hour and wrap it up a little bit early. So thank you, everyone who took the time, and thank you so much to our panelists.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.